voy a anunciar la primera y después Miss Universo. La primera finalista es Miss Bermuda. Es Bermuda. Amigos, ha ganado Venezuela. Marisa Sayalero acaba de titularse Miss Universo 1979.
Por primera vez Venezuela gana el título de Miss Universo. Me imagino cómo estará Osmer Salsa, que fue la persona que lo presentó. Felicidades, Osmer.
Bien, buenas noches a todos. Dice Rob.
Para mejor ahí, que llegó la ficha. Yo soy tu taita.
La meilleure défense, c'est l'attaque.
Ou la contre-attaque.
Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Sorry for this glare, I'm starting a little bit later today. Long story, let's just say I went for a routine prenatal appointment that turned into the whole afternoon, but it's all good here. It's all good, fine and dandy. And also, as you can see, my ring finger, I mean, it fits, but it's very hard to get off, so as a precaution, I'm not wearing it for, my wedding stuff, my wedding ring and engagement ring. Sadly, I love wearing those, but it is what it is. Venezuela, land of beauty queens, oil riches, and natural wonders. Venezuela, land of misery, political unrest, and danger. Oh, how things have changed. Not long ago, if you said you were from Venezuela, especially if you were a woman, the response from foreigners would often be the land of the most beautiful women. But now, let's just say, it is a shame for many to carry that passport. The last time Venezuela won a beauty pageant was in 2018 with Miss International. The last time Venezuela won a Miss Universe was in 2013 with Gabriela Isler. It's been a while. Now, these might seem like superficial accomplishments, but it used to be, and in some ways still is, part of the national pride, part of the culture. Despite the downfall and its lack of recent wins, Venezuela is still the country with the most beauty pageant wins in the world, with the big 4 international pageants, not just talking about Miss Universe. For a country with no more than 30 million inhabitants, this is kind of remarkable. I mean, it's kind of a big deal, Powerhouse in beauty pageants. But it also means the idea of being a beauty pageant queen seems a lot more attainable to the average girl, to girls that come from more humble backgrounds. There is a culture that surrounds the idea of becoming a pageant queen. This is a dream for many, even if it really is completely unattainable for most, because it is. Let's be real. Venezuela is not filled with beauty pageant queens. Many young women will not even come close to making the standard and making the cut. But there is that unrealistic expectation. And so, the fact that it is unrealistic does not mean they will not try anyway. Last week, I discussed the Venezuelan gangs, and I mentioned the fact that many women participate not only as unwilling victims, but also some participate willingly as leaders of smaller groups within the Venezuelan gang known as Tren de Aragua. So what does this have to do with the other thing? What does one thing have to do with the other? You may ask. Well, one of the ways Tren de Aragua captures women to be trafficked and taken into other Latin American countries for prostitution or other parts of the XCX trade is exactly the promise of a glittery crown on the pageant world. Through different networks and people spread across poor neighborhoods in Venezuela, Tren de Aragua lures young women by using people in their own communities who organize beauty pageants, and they happen every month. They organize the community pageants and advertise them through social media and through willing participants in the communities. And the winners of the pageants often get cash as gifts, cell phones, among other things, like a ticket to being trafficked by a criminal gang. Because of the crisis the country has been going through, combined with the long history of beauty pageant wins that seep into the culture, this is a surefire way to tempt women into believing this is a reality they can achieve and into getting out of the precarious circumstances and living the life of their dreams. But this is all a trap. The pageant girls then get invited to all sorts of parties organized by the criminals. And slowly, they get involved with an organization that has its reach all over Latin America and now even in the US. Some parties even used to take place at the prison where the Tren de Aragua used to operate. I mean, I have no words or comment for the girls that decide to go there. I'm not sure what they tell them, but I mean, okay. I don't know. Not only beauty pageants, they also get captured through modeling agencies, at least what looks like modeling agencies, through casting flyers, again, all up front. Some of these young women, I must say, have reported that they don't even seek this out. They get a phone call from someone at Tren de Aragua, someone saying they want her, and if she refuses, her family will suffer. There are other ways to capture them, not only beauty pageant, but in casting agencies, but also what looks like formal job offers abroad. So many of them end up getting on a bus to leave the country, to go to Peru, Ecuador, Chile, etc., thinking they're going for modeling reasons or decent and honest work. And what awaits them is being trapped into prostitution. And guess what? Once you're there, you are trapped. You can't leave. Try to escape and see if you come out alive. And while they are prostituting themselves on the streets of these Latin American countries, they have to pay a specific amount to the Tren. Not a percentage of what they make a week. No, a specific amount. A fixed amount every single week. Basically, pay me to be my slave. The ones that disobey are told death awaits them. And this is not an empty threat, okay? They have seen their friends get shot right in front of them on the streets because of trying to escape or not paying what they owe. So that's one side of the coin. The women who are victims. But what about the other women? Last video, I mentioned that the Tren does not discriminate when it comes to leadership of different groups within the bigger organization of Tren de Aragua. And that might be a little bit of an exaggeration because obviously the vast majority of the criminals that are part of the gang are men. However, women have been part of it since the very beginning. According to journalist and author Rona Rizquez, who wrote the book on the Tren de Aragua, which I will link, she says, quote, "The participation of women in the Tren de Aragua is quite extensive. Let's say that from the beginnings of Tren de Aragua as an organization, the presence of women was very visible. It was very, very important. There are, of course, women who act as hooks or baits to get other women interested in joining whatever modeling agency or pageant they claim to have joined prior. They show off their lavish lifestyle to the girls and tell them this can all be theirs if they just follow the same path as she did. Some are micro-influencers and say things like, I want other women to have the same opportunities that I did. And so they lead them towards these fake modeling agencies and or pageants. Some of these women have been trafficked themselves and found a place in the organization. Some others simply joined because they had a family member at the Tren de Aragua or a friend or a boyfriend. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about one of these micro-influencers who joined the gang through her Colombian boyfriend. So yeah, not all of the members of this gang are Venezuelan. There are some other nationalities involved. Mary Emilia Colmenares. She joined through her Colombian boyfriend, but they both had a prominent role to play in the group of the Tren de Aragua that operated in Concepcion, Chile, where Colmenares arrived in early 2021. She looked like a normal girl. She claimed asylum or political persecution, whatever. The authorities didn't seem to think anything otherwise. Easily let in. So, according to investigations, they both were underway to build their little criminal empire. Many times, the Colombian boyfriend would use Colmenares' photos as a hook to get paying clients through the door. But she was actually never on the menu. The women that they trafficked and handled when they arrived to Chile and to Concepcion specifically were taken by Colmenares to get a glow up. And she would handle getting them new clothes, changing their makeup, their hair, whatever they needed to get them to look good for the clients. So ultimately, her and the Colombian boyfriend were arrested for the crime of trafficking and their links specifically to prostitution rings in Concepcion, Chile. And they linked them specifically to 14 women. But Colmenares is just one example. There's also Wanda del Valles Bermúdez, or La Caraqueña, or La Flaca. Wanda, who also was nicknamed by an outlet La Bebecita del Crimen. No comment. I better not comment. Wanda specifically had a very similar situation to Mary until her boyfriend was unalived by the police. And she took the role as the de facto leader of that group of the gang. Wanda never got her hands dirty. And most of the women that lead these smaller groups within the Tren de Aragua never get their hands dirty either. They just send their orders to whoever is following them. She commissioned killings. She targeted police officers, among other things, to the criminals. And she would send these orders through voice note, through messages, whatever, to the criminals that she was leading within her group. Ultimately, thankfully, she was caught. She's still pretending she had nothing to do with this. And she was caught in a different country after being on the run for a few months. It truly amazes me how young some of these criminal leaders are. It also brings me joy to know at least some of them have been caught. Although so far, Tren de Aragua is spreading fast and wide. And I'm going to take a moment right here to speak about the current situation of the country. The country of Venezuela is in a very bad point in its history and is making a lot of people desperate. And a lot of these young women might not analyze the situation fully because they are desperate to get out of a bad place they're in. And unfortunately, they end up in prostitution rings outside of their home country, far away from their families, and unable to leave. Obviously, they need help from authorities that are able to dismantle these rings. Although the Tren de Aragua is spreading fast, hopefully the situation right now that is happening in Venezuela will get more attention and will make people understand if there's no change to the political situation there, this will keep on going and affecting the entire region. So with that said, I'll see you next time, guys, and cheers.